So, let us talk about the jugular venous pulse. So, here we see the anatomy of the neck veins. In the neck, there is basically two systems of veins, the internal jugular veins and the external jugular veins. The sigmoid sinus from the cranial cavity comes downwards to form the internal jugular vein in the neck. The internal jugular vein joins with the subclavian vein, and this together forms the brachiocephalic veins. The right and the left brachiocephalic vein will join together to form the superior vena cava that will drain in the right atrium of the heart. Whenever we talk about the neck veins, clinically we meant to talk about the internal jugular vein. Now, since the SVC and the right VC both drain in the right atrium of the heart, whenever the right atrium pressure rises by back pressure, this causes a rise in the pressures in both the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. Since the internal jugular vein is a tributary of the superior vena cava, therefore, whenever the pressure rises in the right atrium and the superior vena cava, the pressure also rises correspondingly in the internal jugular vein, causing it to be engorged. Therefore, the pressures or the engorgement of the internal jugular vein in the neck actually signifies a rise of the pressure in the right atrium of the heart. Now, how to clinically examine the neck veins? To examine the neck veins, the patient is made to lie at an angle of 45 degrees with the horizontal. And the upper level of the jugular venous pulsation is measured from the level of the sternal angle, and this is considered to be the height of the jugular venous pulsation. The internal jugular vein is observed between the two heads of the sternocleidomastoid muscle at the root of the neck, which is shown in the diagram. The external jugular vein is present more superficially in the neck, and sometimes the engorgement of the external jugular vein is mistaken by the clinicians as the engorgement of the internal jugular vein. Therefore, the internal jugular vein must only be examined in between the two heads of the sternocleidomastoid muscle, the sternal and the clavicular head at the root of the neck. Now, in the neck, there is a venous system as well as an arterial system, and pulsation in the neck can arise from any of the two structures. It can be a jugular venous pulse, or it can be a carotid pulse. How to differentiate between the two, we will learn in this table. Jugular venous pulsation is non-palpable. It is better seen than felt. It varies with respiration, that is, the height will fall with inspiration. On compressing at the root of the neck between the two heads of sternocleidomastoid muscle, the pulsation will disappear. The height will also vary with the change in the posture. It has no relation with the first heart sound. On the other hand, carotid pulse is a palpable pulse. It is better felt than seen. It has no relationship with respiration or postural variation. It does not obliterate or does not disappear on compressing at the root of the neck, and the carotid pulse coincides with the first heart sound or S1. So now, what are the waveforms of the jugular venous pulse? The jugular venous pulse has three upstrokes, A, C, and V waves, and two downstrokes, the X and the Y wave. What is the mechanism behind the generation of these waves? Let us understand. As I have earlier also said, that the rise or drop in the internal jugular vein pressures actually correlates or reflects the pressure changes in the right atrium of the heart during the cardiac cycle. The A wave is produced by contraction of the right atrium during the last rapid phase of the right ventricle. This can also be termed as the active filling phase of the right ventricle. This is followed by the S1 and the first heart sound, because as the right ventricular pressure now starts to rise due to the blood filling from the right atrium to the right ventricular pressures become greater than the right atrium, causing the tricuspid valve to shut down, and on the left side the mitral valve, resulting in the first heart sound or S1. Now, as the right ventricle starts contracting, the pressures in the right ventricle is still lower than the pressure in the pulmonary artery, as the result of which the pulmonary valve remains closed. The tricuspid valve was already closed earlier, resulting in the isovolumetric contraction of the right ventricle, which causes the right ventricular pressures to rise higher and pushes the tricuspid valve into the right atrium, causing an elevation of the right atrial pressure, which is responsible for the C wave. Now, as the right ventricular pressure rises, a point comes when the right ventricular pressure becomes higher than the pulmonary arterial pressure, resulting in opening of the pulmonary valve at the point A, as has been mentioned. As the pulmonary valve opens, blood starts ejecting from the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery, as a result of which the right ventricular pressure is lowered down and the tricuspid valve gets pulled down into the right ventricle, causing a subsequent lowering of the right atrial pressure, which results in the X descent. Now, as the ejection phase ends, the pulmonary valve closes. The pulmonary valve closes, resulting in the S2 or the second heart sound. This is followed by the V wave, in which the right atrial pressure rises due to venous filling into the right atrium. And as the right atrial pressure rises, it gradually becomes higher than the right ventricular pressures, and the AV valves, that is the tricuspid valve, opens at the point B, and blood starts flowing from the right atrium to the right ventricle through the open tricuspid valve, which results in the lowering of the right atrial pressure and causes the Y descent. Therefore, the waveforms in the jugular venous pulse can well be correlated with the events in the cardiac cycle. Now, what are the abnormalities of the jugular venous pulse waveform? That is how the different pathologies of the cardiovascular system correlate with changes in the JVP waveforms. 1. Let us understand the abnormalities of the A wave. A wave is produced due to right atrial contraction during the last rapid filling phase or the active filling phase of the right ventricle. If the A wave is absent, this means that the right atrial contraction is ineffective, as it happens in a case of atrial fibrillation. If the A wave is large, this means the right atrium is forcefully contracting against resistance. This can happen in two scenarios. One, either there is a narrowing of the tricuspid valve resulting in a greater pressures in the right atrium, as in a case of tricuspid stenosis. Or it may also happen that the tricuspid valve is absolutely okay, but the right ventricular chamber, which is the receiving chamber, has a higher pressure, which results in forceful contraction of the right atrium. The right ventricular pressures can be elevated in a case of right ventricular hypertrophy in pulmonary hypertension or pulmonary stenosis. It can be in a case of right ventricular failure, as it happens in pulmonary embolism MI. Or this may happen in a cardiac tamponade, which compresses the right ventricle, increasing the right ventricular pressures. Canone waves. Now, Canone waves are waves which are large, but they have a very extremely large rise in the pressures, and these are greater than the large waves. Canone waves are produced when right atrium and right ventricles contract simultaneously, that is, the right atrium contract against a closed tricuspid valve. This can happen in junctional rhythm, in which the AV node becomes the pacemaker. Now, since the AV node is located at the junction of the atria and the ventricles, when the AV node becomes the pacemaker, the atria and ventricles are depolarized simultaneously, resulting in a simultaneous contraction of right atrium and right ventricles. However, in junctional rhythm, the rate of the Canone waves are similar to the rate of impulse generation at the atrioventricular node or the AV node, which is at the rate of 40 to 60 per minute. In case of a complete AV block, there are other pacemakers which may arise at the atria or the ventricle level, which results in desynchronized contraction on the right atrium and the right ventricle, and intermittent Canone waves may be produced when both the chambers contract simultaneously. In PSVT, that is paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia, due to re-entry circuits generated at the level of the AV node, sometimes the right atrium and right ventricle can contract simultaneously. So, not sometimes, actually the atrium and ventricle contract simultaneously, and this will happen resulting in generation of Canone waves, and this happens at a rate of more than 100 per minute. Generation of Canone waves at a rate of more than 100 per minute is termed as the frog sign and is observed in PSVT. Now, what are the abnormalities of the X wave? Two abnormalities: X wave absent or the X wave may be deep. The X wave is produced due to flow of blood from the right atrium to the right ventricle. X may be absent if the right atrial pressure does not fall. So X wave is produced due to the falling of the right atrial pressure, as the tricuspid valve is pulled downwards in the right ventricle when the right ventricular pressure falls during the ejection phase. Now, if the XM is absent, this means the right atrial pressure does not fall, and this happens either due to backflow of blood during the ventricular ejection phase as a result of an incompetent tricuspid valve as in tricuspid regurgitation, or may happen due to a thrombus in the right atrium as a result of the stasis of blood in patients of atrial fibrillation. A deep X wave can happen if the tricuspid valve is pulled more downwards due to vigorous contraction of the right ventricle at the systole phase. This can happen in conditions like restrictive cardiomyopathies, cardiac tamponade, and constrictive pericarditis. Repeating once again, the X wave is produced when the tricuspid valve is pulled down in the right ventricle as the right ventricular pressure falls during the ejection phase of the right ventricle. And this pulling down of the tricuspid valve results in a pressure drop in the right atrium, which causes the production of the X wave. So, what are the abnormalities of the V wave? The V wave is produced due to venous filling of blood into the right atrium. The V wave may be absent or small, in which case the right atrial venous filling may decrease or stop as in a case of superior vena cava obstruction, and the V wave may be large. This happens when the right atrial pressure increases more during the venous filling phase, either due to increased volume of blood in the filling phase or due to a decreased compliance of right atrium. There is an increased filling of blood at the venous filling phase, which can happen in tricuspid regurgitation, in which there, in addition to blood received from the SVC and the IVC, there is backflow of blood from the right ventricle in the right atrium. This can also happen in atrial septal defect, in which, in addition to blood received from the SVC and the IVC, blood flows from the left atrium to right atrium due to a defect in the atrial septa, and since the left heart is at higher pressures. In disorders like constrictive pericarditis or restrictive cardiomyopathies, the right atrium is unable to relax at the venous filling phase, which results in increased pressure in the right atrium, which ultimately results in a large V wave. Now, abnormalities of the Y descent. The Y descent happens because passive flow of blood occurs from the right atrium to the right ventricle, resulting in lowering of the right atrial pressures. The Y wave can be rapid, which is called the Friedreich sign, and this happens because the right atrial blood moves into the right ventricle rapidly due to high right atrial pressures. This can happen in tricuspid regurgitation atrial septal defect, in which the right atrial pressure increases due to increased blood filling, or this can happen in pericarditis or restrictive cardiomyopathies, in which the compliance of the right atrium decreases, resulting in higher right atrial pressures. You must have noticed that all of these causes are also etiologies where the V wave produced is large. The Y wave can be slow, in which the right atrial blood moves slowly into the right ventricle due to resistance, and the resistance may be offered by a narrowed atrioventricular valve, that is tricuspid stenosis, or the resistance may be offered due to elevated right ventricular pressures, as it happens in pulmonary hypertension or pulmonary stenosis, pulmonary embolism, or MI. The Y wave may be absent, in which the right atrial blood does not move into the right ventricle during the passive filling phase, and this happens in cardiac tamponade. In cardiac tamponade, due to elevated pressures in the pericardium, the right ventricle remains collapsed during the passive filling phase, which results in the Y wave to be absent. Now, talking about some special sites. One is the abdominojugular reflux or the hepatojugular reflux. What is the technique? You have to compress over the right upper abdomen for 10 seconds and then release it. If the JVP remains elevated more than 3 cm, even after 15 seconds of releasing abdominal compression, the reflex is said to be positive, and it is indicative of an occult right ventricular failure. Now, what is the mechanism of this reflex? Let's try to understand. When you compress over the right upper abdomen, there is compression of the inferior vena cava, and this results in an increased venous return into the right atrium of the heart. Now, as the right atrium of the heart receives an increased venous return, there is increase in the workload of the right ventricle, and this causes an unmasking of an occult right heart failure. Now, as the right ventricle fails due to an increased venous return and increased workload, there is elevation of pressure in the right atrium, and this causes engorgement of the neck veins, which is termed as the hepatojugular or the abdominal jugular reflux. So one more special sign is the Kussmaul sign. In what normally the JVP decreases or falls during inspiration, but in Kussmaul sign the JVP increases at inspiration. Let us understand the mechanism behind it. During inspiration, there is a negative intrathoracic pressure which causes suctioning of blood from the SVC and the IVC, which causes the pressures in the SVC to fall, and consequently the jugular venous pulse also lowers or reduces in height. However, if the right atrium is at higher pressures and is unable to accommodate the blood or the increased venous return at inspiration, this causes an engorgement of the superior vena cava and consecutively an engorgement of the internal jugular veins in the neck, and thus the JVP increases at inspiration. Therefore, Kussmaul sign can be observed when the right atrial pressures are high, as in a severe tricuspid stenosis, in right ventricular failures, or the right atrium is unable to accommodate the increased blood at venous return, as in cases of decreased right atrial compliance, as in constrictive pericarditis or restrictive cardiomyopathies. So, all of these pathologies can cause an increase in right atrial pressure and therefore is unable to accommodate the increase in the venous return, resulting in elevation of the JVP. Mention must be made that Kussmaul sign is not observed in patients of cardiac tamponade. This is because in cardiac tamponade, blood is unable to enter into the right atrium, which remains collapsed, and as a result, the Kussmaul sign is not observed in patients of cardiac tamponade.